Angela, we are back. The fall line with Chaos and Company is back, everybody. Hope everybody's out there listening. And we want to thank the friends and supporters of the podcast, Blizzard Technica for helping us out, and Nick's Boot Fitting over at Mount Snow. And pretty soon, unfortunately, as the season goes along, as these guys will also probably talk about, we'll be on the rollerblades or out there hiking up the hills with no snow. But we got snow now. And we are pretty excited, Angela. We have Perry Schmunk and Jeff Marks here from the Professional Ski Instructors of Canada, the new PSIC group up there. And so we're going to have some fun. How's it going, guys?
Great. It's nice to be back. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's going great. And yeah, always good to connect with the both of you.
Yeah. So, Angela, you've had a lot going on. You've been working with getting the coaches hired and the interviews there, and then you had some other stuff you were doing with National. So what's going on there?
Yeah, pretty busy couple of weeks. We got the coaches hired for the next team. The selection is scheduled for end of April at Big Sky, so that's exciting. We're getting into the preliminary stages of scoring the application packets and whatnot, working with the selectors. And then on top of that, we've got, planning for academy, getting the electives squared away, getting all the coaches squared away for the groups. That's been the major push for the last couple of weeks for sure. Yep.
Yeah. So I definitely wanted to start the podcast because I know you're just loving the snow in Southwestern PA.
We had a great 3 week, about 6 weeks ago, we had a great 3 week snap. We got a bunch of to my knowledge, it was unforecasted. It just kept coming every day. And then we had the most dismal 3 weeks. And yesterday we got another cold snap. So we got like a foot or 14 inches of snow yesterday. And I skied today. It was about 12 Fahrenheit this morning, chilly, windy. So it's like proper winter right now. Just hope it lasts for a while.
Well, that's good because I know Jeff has been posting some photos and it looks pretty good where he is. So I'm wondering when Jeff and Perry tell us how good it is, we might have to take a trip to Canada.
Yeah, we're doing.
So what's going on with it, Jeff? Is it good?
Yeah, it's good right now. It's not what we would hope for at this time of the season, but we're I'm primarily at Lake Louise in Norquay right now, and a couple of trips down to Castle Mountain, southern Alberta, and the skiing's good. I wouldn't call it carefree. We're pretty careful in the off piste and stuff right now, but it's been fine. We kind of went through I think everybody got that crazy warm snap. We were skiing through puddles for a bit, and then super cold, then warm snap. I can't remember, but anyway, it's a lot of stuff's repaired, so we're doing okay.
Yeah. Perry?
Yeah, I'm kind of a lot of my time is based close by here with Whistler, and like Jeff said, I think like everybody, by far the best season ever. But we're quite fortunate that even in one of these leaner years, it's still pretty good skiing. We've hit a stretch now that's been blue sky, cold temperature, firm snow, which is kind of un-Whistler-ish, but it's still great skiing. So we're lucky. And I think one of the cool things is that, both in working with instructors and the public, it doesn't seem to have hampered people's spirits. Everybody's still happy to be out there and sliding around. And yeah, so it's good. And hopefully we have a bit more of a traditional winter to finish out the season.
Yeah. And before we get into the new PSIC, I want to kind of ask both of you how things went in Levy Finland. Angelo came back just pumped up, and it was great stuff. And I have to say, Jeff, I watched your presentation on YouTube, and a lot of the other presentations, some were live streamed out, which is pretty cool. But what was it like over there, Jeff?
It was awesome. It was a ton of fun. I think every single person that attended that event would say that. The organizing committee put on such a good show. I think they really felt I guess an opportunity and a bit of a demand to kind of knock it out of the park after all the COVID stuff and everything, and some question, I guess, even as to whether it would happen. And they did. They killed it. They did such a good job. The venue was awesome. Everything worked out really well. And for me, thanks for watching, watching the talk and stuff. I had a blast up there. That was kind of a really unique experience for me in terms of, standing on a stage like that and presenting stuff that, we've been working on as an organization, and with the cooperation of a whole bunch of people, and to kind of have it, be able to deliver it that way in front of a crowd like that. It was a blast. It was a bit of a high, to be honest, and response has been pretty good, and learned a lot from it.
Cool. Go ahead, Perry. What's some of your thoughts?
Well, one, and maybe Jeff's a little too modest to say this, but the couple of highlights of Jeff's performance in Interski, one of which is he did win the collaboration award, which is super cool. Because to me, I think that's what the event's all about. And it was great, that he got recognized for his contributions. I think he's also YouTube famous. In his presentation, somebody in the audience sneezes, and he both addresses somebody sneezing and carries on with his presentation as cool as ever. So that was kind of cool. And then just the whole thing, like Jeff said, huge accolades to the organizing committee, to the Interski Presidium. I think, it's always been a great event, but I think in Levy, everything contributed to it going to the next level. It was just really great to be a part of.
Yeah.
We had
you guys excited?
A couple of good opportunities too. Sorry to interrupt. I have to, to shout out to Dave Schuling, spending time with him up on the, actually, I think he requested that I call him DJ Jazzy Schuling, but up on the mic there for narrating and DJing the show runs and stuff. That was a lot of fun, and it was it was a cool experience to be able to get involved with the crowd and all the teams and stuff. That was a bit of a highlight for sure.
Yeah,
they were like a Vegas act. I mean, it. Perry, right? It was so.
Oh yeah, like the Dave and Jeff show was amazing. I had the opportunity and the honor to work with Paul Lorenz from the APSI for the second show run and the closing ceremonies to provide some of the color commentary. Definitely, they were a super hard act to follow. The Jeff and Dave show for sure. They killed it.
Well, so much so that didn't they not let you wander around in the crowd the second night or something? I don't know. Anyway, that's off track. But
I mean, it is a bit of a side thing. But so Jeff and Dave get to do the opening ceremonies and the first show night, and then myself and Paul Lorenz were definitely in show run night number 2 were sequestered to, you can't leave the chain, you can't leave the stage, you can't interact with the crowd, like they were militant. And then luckily they changed the parameters for the closing ceremonies, realizing that the precedent set by Jeff and Dave was the way to go.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, it was pretty cool. There was a ton of live stream, and I was watching the hill with the webcam going out to the show hill, so we get to watch a lot of that live stream, which was pretty cool. And I was going to ask, with the next Interski being in the U.S., I mean, and that's pretty much North America. It's pretty close for you guys. Is that exciting to have it that close? Or I know you'd probably rather have it in Canada, but it's pretty close.
Jeff, do you want to?
Well, you're right. It is pretty much North America. It's yeah. I mean, you know what? It is exciting. Any which way you slice it, it's cool to see that event moving around. I know that your group with the PSIA, will have worked hard for that, right? And put together a good bid and kind of brought the industry together to make that happen. And that's it's a big deal. And so yeah, like we're really excited to see that. I've had a couple of conversations with Dave and chatted about their work and kind of the work that's ahead as well, because that's no small feat. So yeah, I mean, we're excited to see it here for sure.
Well, if I can add to what Jeff said, Vail, obviously a great venue, right? Like it's world class. Some of us that work north of the border know Vail resorts, and so it's not a stranger to us. It's a great venue, and yeah, it's just it'll be great to have it back in North America. And you know what? I think Vail is the way it turns out, Vail is the venue to up the ante, because Levy, like the bar, was put pretty darn high, and I'm sure, the PSA and the Vail, resort partnership will take it yet again. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So we should talk about this new organization. This is pretty cool. It's pretty interesting going through some of your material, and had to be a ton of work put in between the end of the ski season and getting to this point, which is really neat. And I first wanted to start, just Perry, if you could kind of give a little bit about your role. I know it's focused on industry and innovation, and if you could just kind of explain that a little bit, just your role with the professional ski instructors of Canada.
Thanks, David. Well, one, I'm part of the founding group, as is, Jeff on the call, and and there's seven of us in total that are the co-founders of the organization. It came, its catalyst was, a bit of a call or a demand that came from the industry and the ski instructor community. So to your question, I'll I'll touch on the industry side of it. Ski school business snow school business in Canada, it's not big in terms of like if we were resource based or technology or whatever, but it's not insignificant. There's in Canada, it's $150 million business and employs thousands of people and so on. And one of the one of the aspects that I've always viewed, and I think our organization is designed to maximize, is the relationship with the ski resorts. The business model in North America, and especially, Canada, which I can speak to, is virtually all instructors are employees of the resorts. It's which is unlike maybe the model in some European countries and so on, where that's not the case. So working with industry is the way to improve, the life and the profession of ski instruction. So that's kind of where my portfolio with my partners exists. And I mean, it'll dovetail into a few different things, which I'm sure we'll talk in a little bit as well. It has a direct impact on our curriculum. It has a direct impact on some of our initiatives, which, as we just talked going into this session, I'd love to talk about our intro to ski instruction program coming up. But yeah, we want to support the industry. It was also the catalyst. We've got a kind of a feedback loop, if you will, which is we call our industry steering committee, which we can get into a little further as well. So all those elements are kind of, in my wheelhouse in supporting the organization and making sure that we deliver on the needs of industry, because that is the way to deliver on the needs of the instructors.
Cool. And Jeff, your focus as one of the co-founders reads on the website of development and empowerment. And I was just wanted you to kind of lighten us a little bit and expand on that for us. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna take a page out of Perry's book and tell a story for a second. Is when we were, when this was in its infancy, which I guess comparatively speaking, it still is, but really trying to figure out who we had at the table, what our skill set was, where did our interests lie, and how could we bring the most to the team and to the organization, and we got into a conversation about, is there really value in director type titles or manager type titles and that kind of thing, and where that evolved to was what we're talking about now, which is sort of in a way reminding ourselves of what of the forward-looking aspects of what we're trying to do in our own titles. And so for me, it's not so much the title, but it is it responds to what we all agreed is a need in the industry and probably a part that we can play, which is, the reality is that the future of the industry is it's the new instructor, and it's the people who are getting involved now, and the people who are kind of just coming to a part in their progression where they, they're finding their feet and they're finding leadership positions in the industry, whether that's right in snow schools or, just the industry at large. And that's like, to me, that's what that means is really doing everything I can and everything we can as a team to really look forward and kind of bounce what we do off of how does this look in the future, right? And so the empowerment aspect is really like recognizing, the potential in, and Perry and I talk about this all the time, the pipeline, right? The potential in the pipeline and really trying to make room for that and make it a big part of what we do. And then, I have a background of, quite a bit of education and program development, been a big part of writing a lot of our stuff. And I just have a real interest in it. And so that's kind of where that discussion went. And as things have hit the ground, it's been an opportunity for me to both be kind of here at my desk, typing away, building stuff, and also out on the hill, kind of teaching it every day and figuring out what it is that we've created and how it works out there. And is it actually developing people, and is it actually empowering people? And so it's been quite a cool process, actually, from that standpoint.
Yeah, because I'm curious as to how the formation started. And I'm not sure if Perry wants to start or Jeff. How did the formation start for this? And was there some talks early on? Even during last season, the season before, I imagine there was thoughts in your heads that just all of a sudden sitting down. Was it on a tissue? Was it on a napkin, or how did it start?
Well, that's a really good question. So one, when you look at that group, us as founders and then other people that are involved, like our industry steering committee, like the trainers, which we call LPT, standing for licensed professional trainers, we're passionate people. We've been in this business for a long time. And then, kind of the catalyst of where it started, and, to Jeff's comment about how we have maybe portfolios versus titles and so on is we kind of designed the organization like what would it look like if we could move quickly? I'm going to use this word, if we were nimble, like if we develop things. So when we come across ideas, when we come across concepts, opportunities to provide a solution from industry, we move quite quickly. And I'm unbelievably proud to be part of the team that's involved. Jeff made a few comments there as well, but we've got a really cool balance of, we've got some people that are a little bit more proficient. And I'm making it like behind the scenes, we got it like our president, Mark Sedgwick, he's got an engineering background. We got Ed Cambridge, who's a biomechanist. He's a PhD. We've got guys like Jeff that have real world experience in actually putting things into place. And we've come up and we've got some great storytellers. And when I say storytellers, like to bring some of this content to life, it's really quite cool. And so when you ask, what was the catalyst of this? It's that. The catalyst was, what are the potentials here? What could we do to make this happen? And hopefully this doesn't come across the wrong way, but, we've had lots of people say, hey, you've done a lot in a hurry. Like if I look at my watch, we're just over 7 months. And that's because, we're all passionate about what we do. And we, we'll do some things that are wins, that are clearly home runs. We'll do some things that, don't stick, don't land, but we'll retool and do things again. And maybe that's a really long answer to say, like, we got together and formed this just based on the excitement of what the potential is.
Yeah. And let's go right to that new program, because I saw that on Facebook and I don't want to leave it to the end. It wasn't new instructor. It was like, come find out what it is to be like an instructor. I know it was like an afternoon program, and I was curious if that's going to be is it a starter thing and see how it goes, or do you have a bunch of those planned?
Well, first of all, and I'm going to get Jeff to correct me, because I'm about to use a saying that we stole from somebody that we're working with, which was, if there's a bite, a snack, and a meal, if the snack is our level 1 program, like in most systems, like the full thing is what is the snack? What's the taster? How would you know what it's like to be an instructor? And that concept was kind of the catalyst to exposing the world of instruction to an audience that isn't inside the world of instruction yet. And I'm really excited about this. We're literally about to go live. When this goes live, it's going to go live tomorrow, Monday, February 19th. We've got 14 resorts from coast to coast, from Nova Scotia to Mount Washington on Vancouver Island. We've got resorts that are big destination resorts, little urban resorts, and everything in between. And we're rolling out this program. So it is a look inside the ski instruction world. So if you've never been involved, that may appeal to any age demographic, whether you're somebody 15 years old, as an example, all the way to maybe you're on the retired from a different profession, if you will, and looking to make use of your time, I'll look under the hood of what's it like to be an instructor. This program, it's done on hill with our licensed professional trainers, so it gives them a little look into what it's like to be a ski instructor. Then we go indoors and talk a little bit about what life is like as an instructor, what the opportunities are, where that may take you, and also the resort representative will speak to it as well. What is life like in the pro room, the culture, the opportunities, the perks, and so on. So it's the real catalyst of this is a recruiting tool. Is ski areas across the country are still, even with a bit of a challenging weather year, they're still in need of instructors, and it's to get more people in the pipeline that then go into the certification program and then work in ski schools. So that's kind of the Cole's Notes version. Well, and when I say that, in the U.S., do you have Cole's Notes? No. It's a study guide thing in Canada.
We have Cliff's Notes.
Cliff Notes. Yeah, we have Cliff Notes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Jeff, will you be doing one of those?
Yeah. So locally here in Alberta for sure, and then we'll be actually doing a bit of a mission out to Ontario in a few weeks, and we've got a number of those running. So, and Perry's been kind of running air traffic control on all this so that we can get kind of run it as efficiently as we can, because it is, like Perry said, like it's going to be a really fun partnership move between the skiers that are running it and then ourselves and our trainers, where they're stepping forward with things like lift tickets. Some of the ski areas are being super creative with it. They're going to do receptions and some munchies and all that kind of stuff at the end of the day. And because one of the interesting things when this conversation first came up, one of the ski areas that is part of our industry steering committee and so on, it was quite funny because we started talking about it, and literally that same day, they're going, "Hey, I've basically already got this document written because it's an idea that I wanted to send to you for you to think about it, whether it's something we could." And it literally went like this, and so in a matter of a couple of weeks, I think, hey, Perry, was kind of let's get this going. And now here we are kind of launching it. So yeah, so it'll be exciting. And like Perry said, there is still, a need for, call it grassroots, I guess, if you want, but, to get people exposed to what it's like on, in the industry. There's so many people out there that love skiing and they're into it. We've already got father-daughter duos that are going to show up at these things that we know of that are going to get exposed to ski instruction, which is super cool. You got your 14-year-old kid and your 40-year-old dad and that kind of, like, it's going to be really neat to see what happens.
And if I can just add two more quick points is one, we had a chance to kind of run a test study at a resort in Ontario called Chicopee. They were a little bit challenged weather-wise, but so then when the weather turned, they needed instructors to deliver. In Ontario, a lot of the instructor products are like 8-week or multi-week programs, and they had a direct recruiting need, and we partnered with them to make it happen. And basically, in 7 days, we turned 0 instructors into a pool of 31 instructors that then worked for the season. And then the other thing that's kind of cool too is there's a need, and I'm going to quote something that Russ Wood, the snow school director of Western Blackham, said many years ago, like, even the big destination resorts, they need the instructors coming from the Chicopees, the Mission Ridges. They need, like, if instructors aren't coming out of the smaller areas, even the big destination machines can't get fed, right? And the cool thing, and I would make a guess that it's similar in the U.S., but the cool thing in Canada, as the demographics changing, and I'm going to put that market bucket with the label New Canadians, they're predisposed to taking lessons, to the point that a lot of ski areas, a lot of people won't go skiing unless they have access to lessons, right? Which means a demand for ski instructors, which is a really cool time for us to be in this game when demand is so high.
Yeah. And that kind of speaks to you saying you wanted to be nimble. I mean, that's pretty quick. What Jeff say, 7 days, and it was off and running was the first one. So that's pretty cool. Ando, 7 days. Can we do anything in 7 days here in the U.S.?
That's a loaded question. Is the U.S. listening? Should I answer that?
That's why I threw it at you.
Yes, we can do much.
I had to do that.
Much with the highest quality ever.
Yeah, I had to do that to you. And looking at your material, and I started off, jumping on the website, looking at a lot of your curriculum on there, and I was really absolutely just makes me interested and actually excited. I was reading your purpose and philosophy part, and I was wondering if Mark, if you could talk a little bit about that and how you're going to implement that philosophy in applications on snow, how that'll translate from the paper to on snow. And
just to clarify, like, are you focusing in on like the adventure? Is that kind of what you mean by the? Yeah, it was just general, like just in general. It was. I know you had kind of the adventure part was a big thing too, and then just your purpose and philosophy of how this got started and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's. I'm kind of open to how do you want to explain it. Yeah, for sure. I guess if we rewind the tape to some of our discussions in the summer, kind of into the fall, which. Again, it's kind of way back when we started a few months ago, right? I guess our values and our mission to contribute and be influencers and leaders, I guess, in the global instruction community, things like that. When and then you take our adventure concept, which I can tell a bit of a story about that as well. Combined with the message or the method, which has been kind of a neat growing philosophy as we've worked more with it. By the time you kind of mash all those things together, what we're seeing on snow, we're seeing one really positive, engagement. People they're having fun on the programs. I think our trainers are really buying into and really kind of putting ahead of a lot of other things, the adventure concept, the idea that everything we do, we have an opportunity to be positive, to be supportive, to help people achieve things that they want to achieve. I could kind of talk to all sorts of these points, and Perry can jump in wherever, but maybe just for a second, I'll jump into the adventure a little bit, which is something that became much more actually than where it originally started. And what we first started with was just the concept of skier experience, right? That our goal was to create, unforgettable experiences. And as we discussed that more and more, we sort of, I don't know, call it bared our souls a little bit to each other, if you want to put it that way, where, the reason we do this and the reason we're still doing it and the reason why we try new things and we innovate is because it is a bit of an adventure. And then it's like, okay, well, what does that mean? And well, one, we're constantly learning things. I mean, you guys are doing the same thing, right? You're out there learning and trying new stuff every day. And I've worked with Perry for a long time. I mean, it's been a bit of a life, a life mission really. And it certainly has for me. And to do that, I think we're in the best opportunity to do it when one, we're engaged, we're having fun, and we're in a place where we feel safe doing it. And that became the adventure. It's like, it's kind of more than just the experience, the skier experience. We wanted to find a way to engage the new instructor, the veteran instructor, with the concept that there's something else out there that we can get to. And then it kind of, okay, well, what are our responsibilities when people come to us for that super fun adventure? Well, we're the ones that actually, we know what the risks are. We can keep them safe while we help them going. And that kind of got all smashed together into what we now call the adventure. And with more discussion and kind of more trial of the ideas, we kind of fleshed out the idea of the method, which kind of brings the concepts of, the intellectual, physical, and emotional side of what we do, where, there's everything about what we do is super compelling. And that if we can get it just right, we get people into the challenge zone being a place where they can learn and they can excel, and we can keep pushing that bar with them over and over and over again. And that's how you love doing what you're doing. And it's how you get better at doing what you're doing. So, it started from a lot of ideas that in many ways, looked really good on paper, but it wasn't actually until we got them out on snow that we really started to realize how well they blend together and how well focusing on an adventure concept, more so than a technical concept, if I can put it that way. So it's, it's adventure, it's engagement, it's respect, it's positivity, it's, empowerment. And what that's done for those that have jumped in and been on our programs and for our trainers, I'll speak personally, how it's changed my outlook on teaching, and what I do and how I approach it. Like it's been really creative. It's been a lot of fun. And it's just nice to be back in a situation again where I can, I am part of a team that's creating things and we're able to see that actually come to fruition on snow. And yeah, it's been really good. Anyway, that's a whole bunch of blabbing about stuff that I'm really excited about. I don't know how clear it is, but yeah, Perry, I don't know if you can sand the edges of that at all.
But one thing that I will take it a little deeper and one of our team members, he's one of our licensed professional trainers, Guy Hetherington. Again, collaboratively, we came up on what is the method. But some of the work that Guy did that really kind of, to me, honed in and sharpened, our approach, which is kind of putting the human condition in our world into three things: the intellectual bucket, the emotional bucket, and the physical. And if I say this, and I think virtually every ski instructor body around the world, one of our cornerstones is the physical part. Like with what Interski has contributed to the world and whatever, a lot of people understand kind of the application of technique or physics, how it impacts skiing and so on. But then, as we've broadened our horizon to make sure it includes the intellectual and the emotional, like and Jeff said this, like when we've taken it out of snow and we, not only are we doing it, but as the people we train do it, it really starting to fire on all cylinders, which is kind of cool. And I will give, I definitely want to shout out, to you and the PSIA neighbors to the south, because I think, as an organization, you for a long time, and as personally, I've watched this, like you have been front runners on people skills and so on, and going into these buckets that maybe and again, I don't want to put anybody in it, but traditional approaches to ski instruction may not have approached. Mm-hmm. And I will quote something from this gentleman, Guy Hetherington, is one of the things he said the other day, that the physical only matters if it serves the emotional. Meaning, when we work with an instructor and when you work with a public or a client or whatever, and you give them some physical tip, if you will, or insight, it works if it fulfills the emotional. Like, let's say, it improves their sense of security, or it improves the thrill of the sport, like, that it's more like a roller coaster ride or whatever, then it serves something, right? And I think that's kind of cool. And, and I will say this, Jeff and I have had numerous conversations, as with some of our peers, is, like, I've been doing this a long time, and I won't give dates because people will do the math. But my point is like, I really am enjoying the process, because I am as aware of the other buckets, like the intellectual and the emotional, as much as the physical. And I think it's taken my game to a new level, both in working with, up and coming instructors and the general public.
Yeah. And I have to say, I watched Jeff and Guy and Mark were on with Tom Jelly, and they were pretty excited. It was neat. And Guy was definitely chatting about the adventure, and he was super excited about that. And it was, to me, it was kind of a combo. It had the people skills in it of we think here in the US, but it went, like Jeff, you were talking about, it went into more of the mountain experience and the experience somebody will have on the hill. And it made me think of Angelo, because Angelo's had a couple of programs that he's created with getting kids out there on the hill. And Angelo, you want to talk about, how you teach them about the mountain environment and the other things when they're on the hill, other than just the ski technique, to really have a full experience. And just listen to you guys on talking with Tom Jelly. The adventure part was like, man, Angelo is going to love this.
I do love it. And I keep writing notes because there's just so much I would love to hear unpacked from what both of you guys just said. Perry, nail on the head with the physical serving the emotional. And I love that idea. I think this is just my impression of like looking back on the past 30 years of my experience doing this. Sometimes I think we lose sight of it. And sometimes I think we assume it. And in the States, I feel comfortable saying that I think our instruction has gotten very much about the instruction and not about what the instruction can do for the person receiving, and the person delivering. Stuart's going crazy. But I love that idea. And I'd really like to hear, like, specifically how you, as much as you can, how you guys are making that happen. But I also, like, Jeff, I think you and I feel the same way about writing curriculum. I can imagine you, like, forget to eat when you get into the mix of it. And I'm kind of the same way. And you talked about your values, and then that led into some observations about semantics with the adventure and the method. And what I'm really curious about is how the semantics impacted, like, specific on the hill, on the snow curriculum. And what my gut is telling me, and I could be way off base, but by approaching it from that vantage point from the beginning, like, this is adventure, I'm expecting that your curriculum is very much, or not maybe mostly, but I think there's probably a great deal of tactics in your curriculum, how to navigate them out, how to where to go, when to go, that sort of thing, versus, like, very mechanical, body oriented type instruction, more user applicability, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, this is where a lot of our whatever you want to call it, check and balance or sort of guidance from our snow school, or pardon me, industry steering committee, right, is we really did engage, and it was a smaller group at the time. Now I think, and Perry, correct me, I think we have 14, maybe 16 people on that committee. I'm not even sure. It kind of grows as we go, which is exciting. But, at that time it was a smaller group of people. But in conversation with those individuals, both, they're not all snow school directors either. They're managers of guest experience. They're ski area owners and operators, sitting at that table together. And where I'm going with this is back to the answer to your question, which is, what they need is people who can engage with people. And one of the phrases that kind of came up organically at our very first LPT training at Norquay back in November, and this actually came from one of our participants, was just the concept of we'll clean it up later, right? And to not go down that technical wormhole. Because I think sometimes we forget that there's a I'll go back to the future thing. Like, there's a pathway in front of everyone where they can learn more and more and more and find out the things they're interested in and really, dig into the stuff that they engage with the most, and to not worry about getting all of that technical understanding under their belt right now, today. What we need them to do is to be able to go out, engage with someone, connect with them. That's been a huge part of our curriculum as well. In fact, we've got an e-learning component built around, creating connections with learners for new instructors. And that is what the committee asked for. And it's gone over, unbelievably well. And so, to your point, Angelo, yeah, like, a lot of what we are doing is very tactical. It's very much, let's get the job done. Let's help them slow down. And it doesn't really matter if they turned this or twisted that or balanced over here or whatever. If the skis stop them, that's a milestone to celebrate, and we can clean it up later. And I think that's that's where it all starts. And even in our technical approach, which, we're calling our technical blueprint, the ground level of where we want to help instructors understand, skiing and how to look at it and how to develop it is from a purpose-based approach, which is, what is the outcome that's actually being achieved here? And do we want to change it? Do we want to enhance it? And go from there. It's not about form. It's about, getting the job done.
Love that.
If I can add to what Jeff said as well, is, so in many years of doing this, and I even think of my own experience, like literally the first lesson that I ever taught, because I think this happens a lot to somebody that's new to the instructor game, is they learned something at some point from some trainer, or whatever, but they didn't know quite how to place it. They didn't know the context, and therefore, they kind of quote unquote get it wrong, right? So our approach does do which might be a little counterintuitive. It does do a much deeper dive into what the purpose of the job is, right? And what we've found as we roll that out and test it is that it is arming people like instructors to make the better decisions, like so that they understand again the purpose, then they can put the pieces of the puzzle together, as opposed to the pieces of the puzzle just not quite being together, right? And that's that's definitely one thing that's cool. And maybe if I can just add to one other thing that Jeff mentioned is, he talked about cleaning it up later. And again, this isn't original to us, but I really like this approach of which is so real world, is that we meet people where they're at. And we're going to arm instructors to deal with clients and meet them where they're at, which is not, they didn't come out of a box. They don't have these technical type aspirations. In a lot of cases, they don't have some of our technical aspirations. Like, how often do you hear a client come up to you and go, I want to execute a perfect 10-meter turn, of this radius on this slope. That's generally, that's not something that happens that regularly. So to meet those needs, is what our curriculum is based on.
Love that. I also wonder if you chose the words intellectual, emotional, and physical on purpose because they spell the word pie, and then it gives you the opportunity to talk about the pieces of the pie.
Whoa. Okay.
They're stealing it now. Okay, They're taking it now.
You can use
this thing on?
You have my permission to use that.
That is, see, this is the cool thing. It evolves every day.
Yep.
There we go.
So I'm super curious about the e-learning program because, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from listening to you guys on when Jeff was on with the rest of the crew on Tom Jelly, and then looking at your website and reading some material, the e-learning ties in terms of what I was looking at, like it's specific to your programs. It's lead-in stuff that people have to go through that kind of front load some stuff into not just tech, but also the adventure part and everything you're doing. Can you speak a little bit to how the e-learning is working in?
Yeah, totally. We're actually really excited about the e-learning. And so, where we're at right now is, we certainly in the outset committed to having, from the ground level, get an e-learning in place for the level one. So the new instructor coming in with the vision that what that would do is it would bring people to the snow, the first day they meet their trainer out on snow, and they will have already been exposed and primed with the concepts they're going to encounter during that program, which seems like obviously like a very simple concept, and a lot of education organizations do that. That's not groundbreaking, but what it's done is it's acquainted people with how approachable ski teaching actually is. I think that's one of the things that is impactful right off the start. In fact, the very first level one that we ran in the country, which was up at Norquay, I went up to get things started and kind of welcome those people in, because whether they realized it or not, it was quite a neat thing to finally have programs like that get off the ground. And before I even said anything to anyone, I met a couple of people, and the very first thing that happened was a couple who had dropped off their 14-year-old to do the training. The very first thing they said was, "Hey, we were doing the e-learning in the truck on the way up to the ski area." So they had an hour and a half drive from Calgary, and the e-learning was about 40 minutes long. And they said we did it with Hugo was his name, and we loved it. And I was like, cool, because it was new. We weren't sure. You're never sure how it's going to land. And so the first thing that happened was he had mom and dad going, "This is amazing," right? Like the connection. So we've got pieces around building connections, safe teaching, a little bit on progression, things like that. And so I mean, again, you can probably hear it. I'm excited about it because it actually puts some tools into people's hands where, they can engage with it before they meet their trainer. Regardless of how approachable we make all this, people are nervous when they show up, and to know what they're going to encounter is super important. And then the cool thing about that is that the program on snow itself doesn't get more complicated. We have time to dig into it and to help them really understand it. They can get their hands on the progression. They can try it with their peers and see how it really, really works. And there's lots of time for it because we have kept it very, tactical, purpose-based, and so on, with very few, technical nosedives, if I can put it that way. Not that technical isn't important, but again, not yet. Right. Yeah. So where we're at now is kind of fleshing out. We have lots of things in the hopper, if I can put it that way, through the rest of the pathway. And each time we run a program now, one of the opportunities we have is that we're actually, I don't know what you want to call it, screen testing, I guess, our new e-learning approaches live in person with people who we're teaching. And that's been a lot of fun as well, right? We'll run a morning 20-minute indoor workshop with people who are just starting their level 3 or their level 2 or whatever. And I've literally been saying to them, hey, this is going to become an e-learning component. Let's go through it together so that we can flesh it out. I'd love to get your impact, find out how it lands. What can we do better or more? And in the coming months, we're actually going to turn that into what the member at large will experience.
So yeah, that's what I was going to ask Perry is with the innovation, is there going to be a lot more e-learning and maybe some webinars? Is there some definite things, or is it like just great ideas? Because I know you guys are trying to think out of the box, which is great. And
God, it's so cool. And on the heels of what Jeff said, the world today to do this is crazy, right? Like it just the opportunities to do things is. One cool thing is I don't think anything's ever going to replace the on snow time, but on the off snow time, if it can make our time on snow more valuable and provide value, then it's kind of cool. This is a weird, but as Jeff's talking, and I'll say this, and this is a world that is especially everybody lives in, and especially some of our younger markets live in, is one of our e-learning packages. We use an avatar. We use an AI avatar that speaks to the camera. One day, and sorry, I'm pointing to Jeff. One day when we roll out the programs, I don't know if he knows where I'm going to take this. We're rolling out one of the programs at night. We go for dinner, and sitting at a table across from us, everybody goes, "That's our AI avatar." There was a girl there that looked exactly like. Anyway, so the point of my story is there's so much cool opportunity. We've got something that, and again, this is a little bit of a philosophical question. We believe 100% in kind of this zero ceiling approach, which means, we're all in this for lifelong learning and so on. Yeah, we've got a concept called the Ski Pro Institute, which is building this stable of resources, through webinars, content, modules that just will be open to every member to expand their horizons and their knowledge and their education and so on. We did the first one was this done with Derek Tate, on sports psychology, which was super cool. And yeah, we look to go into that deep, both with some in-house resources that we have, and collaboration with any resource from across the world. So yeah. We're excited about the opportunities that are in front of us.
Yeah, and you guys, how will it fit in? Like if someone in the U.S. wants to see some of that, how do they become? They have to become a member, right? And there's kind of put us through, like if someone here in PSA wants to get into some of that e-learning or whatever, like the Derek Tate thing was. I saw that on Facebook. That had to be awesome. How could one of our members get involved?
The simple answer is psic.pro is the website, and you can go there and sign up to become a member right away. And that is sort of the first, we do have a number of members who, they've engaged in the Derek Tate webinar, and they've, like you guys, they've seen kind of where we're going. And engaged with the materials that are there, but they haven't all had an opportunity to jump into the pathway and take some of the educational programming. So that's kind of where it starts. Is you become a member, you receive our communications as we grow our Ski Pro Institute and more presentations and kind of expand our campus or our library of education resources. Then that will become accessible to members at large, whether they're in a program or not. But yeah, the simple answer is you can jump on and become a member right away, psic.pro. And then from there too, and we have actually had some of your PSIA members come up and actually do our LPT training at the beginning of the season. People that were keeping an eye on what was going on and that were interested to come up and see. And I find that really inspiring. Like, I think that's quite neat. And in fact, we have membership from quite literally all over the world. At this point, we've had quite an interesting level of engagement from all over the place, which is super cool. And I think what that says to me is that's not just people getting involved in the system. That actually to me means there are more people out there from an unbelievably diverse background that we can engage with and help more ski pros more of the time, because that's really, like, back to Perry said it, the zero ceiling approach. Not everything in terms of the value that we want to bring to the industry is inherent inside our pathway programs. We actually see a much broader, bigger opportunity to just help the profession through whatever level of education we can find, and different expertise from different backgrounds, ski pro or not,
Yeah. Cool. And the on-hill courses, there's the ski part, and that looks pretty awesome too. I know you. I think you were talking about, when you're talking with Tom, you guys have done a lot of the level 1 stuff, some level 2, and have you done some of the level 3 stuff? I know Jeff, you were talking about that it was coming up, or I'm not sure when that was recorded.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we've run at least a part of every step in the pathway so far. So, level 1, 2, absolutely. And then level 3, we've run our skiing and teaching programs in that. On the level 4 side, we've done startup camps. And actually next week, we have what we call our top-up camps, which is, 3-day engagements. If you're focused on your skiing or teaching, you can kind of choose that pathway in terms of what you need development on moving forward. So yeah, like everything, we've had a chance to touch everything. Our LPT courses as well. So actually certifying new trainers in the system. Yeah. So, and we've learned a lot, and quite literally getting out and teaching the programs is also informing how the next program gets taught. Right. So it's been a really neat process to be part of in that sense as well. I'll be honest, like we do feel like this sort of urgency, obviously, to get things in writing and get things written down that everybody will follow. But at the same time, we've kind of reminded ourselves that a healthy dose of patience and just being open to figuring things out as we go along has actually helped us a lot as well. We've designed a lot of our trainer guidance manuals after some of our leadership team has had a chance to actually go out and teach the program. And then we've kind of come back and said, okay, this is how we want to get the guidance out to the rest of Canada and in how they teach it. So yeah, I don't know if you have any other sort of specific questions on the pathway itself, but we're deep into it already, which has been a blast.
I do, and Perry can jump in, because the part that really intrigues me, that I know Angelo, if he doesn't know yet, will probably jump in, that it seems like your programs are a little longer than the rest of the other organizations. I understand you're trying to have more of a development path versus, I know it was explained at one point, we don't want the trainers standing at the bottom of the hill with a notebook out and a pencil. So it's very kind of in the moment what people are doing, and not like a rush thing, like this is the run.
Yeah, that's okay. Cool point. And what I'm about to say is biased by the fact that we've experienced this now. So all of our programs have ongoing evaluation. At no point do we stop and go, okay, David, give us a show you're on, for your teaching or your skiing? It's ongoing evaluation, which, and I want to make it very clear, that doesn't mean it's easy, but we're never going to like put you like on the spot and create a hypothetical situation where we ask you to do X or Y. Like that doesn't happen. It's ongoing evaluation. And it's really worked well. Like it keeps people in the moment. It keeps people in the learning kind of zone, if you will. It keeps people, like we have. This is an unofficial saying, but we kind of have this mantra where it's education before certification. Like we want to be focused on delivering the value, on educating, and going forward, and that doesn't stop. We're not gonna. Because and then I can give some examples, and it's kind of cool as it's resonated with some of the people that have gone through our programs. And when I say some of the people, like pros that are out there working in the system, where we're focused on giving them tools to do their job, and it's not a bolt on. We're not training you to execute a standalone exam. It's do you understand the concepts of connecting with people, touching those buckets of intellectual, emotional, and physical, and so on. And the same with skiing. Like we know based on our industry steering committee what the industry needs is they need, like I'll give you an example, in some of the higher levels, like they need somebody to ski. Like a level 3, they need that person to ski, bumpy terrain and off-piste terrain, and not crazy stuff, but they need people to be able to deliver that program. So you'll see that some of our skiing descriptions are a little bit. It does outline what the terrain is, what the application is, but it doesn't. It's not a set of ski. I'm going to go way back in my history to the 80s. It's not a bunch of maneuvers, right? Like it's not. And we see that works. I've also had an instructor say, well, they thought through their traditional training that what they were doing with clients was wrong because the two didn't marry up. Where now they realize, wait a minute, some of the skills they have with connecting with people are actually the good thing. And I know Jeff and I have talked about this, like the stuff we've learned from people that we've been working with as well is incredible, right? Because there's a lot of real world useful experience that's out in the marketplace that we can embrace and share with others.
Yeah. Angelo's taking his processing, man, because I don't know if he knew all that. Had you seen that, Angelo?
Not all of that, no. But I think it just, the more you guys talk about it, just sounds so authentic. Like what you've done in just, I mean, it's 7 months on one hand, but 7 months plus a couple decades of background knowledge times the number of people you have. So it's not like it came out of nowhere, but it sounds like going into it with such open minds, like you just built something really authentic. It sounds great.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, I'll just quickly say, and you guys know this as well, and Jeff, lots of people know this. Like, Jeff has been a snow school director. I've been a snow school director. And you know what life is like as a pro is a snow school director. He or she just wants to, when they give a lesson out, they just want that instructor to be able to figure it out, right? Like, what does the person want? What does the person need? And go deliver that adventure. And that's, and I would say this, like our system does a deep dive. So, as an instructor, how to go through that process, how to figure that out, because never, in the ski school business, you're not given a curriculum. You don't go teach the curriculum. You've got to figure that out with the person, with the day. I think of this year and the conditions, like the conditions across the globe where, at times they've been great, at times they've not been great, like dealing with the conditions and being able to still create a cool product and a cool adventure and a cool experience, given all of those variables. Our curriculum does a deep dive on how to figure that out, because that's what you need to do as a ski pro, and for sure that's what the director needs you to do when you get that lesson assignment. Yeah,
Jeff, do you have something I know you.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, just to add to that, I mean, it's Perry kind of said this. He said it like it's not easy, right? Like we still, we have standards, we have things that we are shooting for on behalf of what the industry wants to see those levels at, but it's not easy for the trainers either, right? Like we've got like myself, Perry, everyone, we're all going through this process of committing to learning how to do it differently, because we are largely from a background of the test, right? And I'm not even saying that the test is bad or it doesn't work or anything like that. We've taken on a challenge to see if we can do this differently, right? And to not step back literally and figuratively from our students, our colleagues actually is what they are. People who have come to us to ask for help, right? And to get better at what they do. And I'll like personally for me, what the system now is kind of, I'll say, imposing on us is that step forward, right? The step towards people, because you cannot, I don't think, be in an ongoing learning and assessment situation without equal engagement from both parties, right? It is quite literally a conversation, and what is happening, again, just in my experience, because I have been out on snow, teaching a lot of these programs, and what I'm finding is that it demands of me that 100% buy-in, right? And it's facilitation of the things that we've. Oh, look, there's one.
There it is. There's a thumbs up.
Want to see this? Wait, where is it? It's gonna. Oh wait, maybe I'll have to do it later. Yeah, my Mac started doing these weird things. There you go.
There it is.
Anyway, yeah. Like what it's actually doing is it is testing us to some degree, and we've had discussions about this in the last few weeks as we go through the education part of what we're doing, and now we're coming up towards things like level 3 evaluation programs, and in a number of weeks we'll be on the doorstep of level 4 completion camps, which is where that kind of evaluation happens. And I'll bring up Guy Hetherington again. One of the things he said in our development process of all this stuff was, if we're going to propose that it is an adventure, we've got to live that all the way through to the upper echelon of our certification pathway. And that really got us all thinking. And I think it's probably one of the most, I bring it up every conversation like this, I think it was one of the most brilliant things that is, continues to drive us to actually live what we're talking about, and not let the adventure drain out of that top certification level, and to constantly step forward into the fun and safe part that actually produces the learning. And so it's a challenge. Like honestly, for me, it is a challenge to figure out, like, how do you do that? How do you really help someone in a situation that's already kind of stressful for them because they're trying something hard, and you're trying to find that balance point between, helping them, teaching them, letting them stretch their legs and really show you what they know and ask the questions that they have comfortably. Like, it's all of that smashed together into what, I mean, Doug Major from Vancouver Community College, I learned a ton from him. And he said this once, he said, learning is messy, right? That was actually when I'll take a step back for a second. Like one of the slides in my presentation at Interski was our collaborative approach with lines and happy faces and sad faces and stuff all over the place, because that's often really what the flow of a lesson is like. And he watched my presentation as well and gave me a bunch of feedback on it. One of the things he said was that was my favorite slide. And he said, because it's real, learning is messy. And so back to where I was going, we're trying our best to keep people in a learning environment as often as they possibly can, and give them the space to take some risks and to really exercise what they know. And I think when we do that, we build a really good relationship, and I think we build a really good professional as we do it.
Yeah, and with all this, the next question is kind of a little selfish, because I think Angelo, as he gets excited, he's going to want to know about the Big Mountain Pathway, and definitely the LPT, the Licensed Professional Trainer Program, because you spoke a little bit about it, and I know you said you had some PSIA from here in the U.S. come up to do that. Where would Angelo and I fit in that as ed staff members here in the East Coast? Where do we fit into joining one of those programs, or how are those working?
definitely right in the front row. That's definitely where you that's definitely where you want to be. So maybe I'll address the LPT aspect first. So the LPT, what we call the LPT training moving forward will be called the LPT update. It was the training the first time because it was the first time. As we go season to season, that will be sort of the mandatory training offered, certainly at the beginning and potentially throughout the season for people that want to offer or that want to teach PSIC programs. And then there's the LPT course, which is what would certify people to become the trainer. And even if they're actually not that interested in teaching PSIC programs, it's a place where you can kind of figure out how to take your own teaching to a training approach, right? Where you can teach others how to teach. So that's that part of it. And quite honestly, how you get involved in that is to sign up and definitely become a member like we talked about before, and then sign up. And it would be amazing actually to have both of you there. And any of your colleagues that are interested in coming up as well, I think would be fantastic. And I'll say it again, it's a two-way street. We certainly know that you'll learn some things through our system, but you're not getting off easy. We're going to be we're going to be learning stuff from you guys as well. And then the Big Mountain Pathway.
Yeah.
So the Big Mountain Pathway, I haven't had my hands on that directly, right? And a big shout out to Derek Foos and a number of his colleagues that have really worked a lot, primarily with Mark Sedgwick back in Whistler on that pathway. And there's a number of people involved in that, all of whom deserve a shout out. But I'm definitely going to miss somebody if I start going into names. But if you don't know Derek Foos, I don't know if you've seen his intro to the pathway, but look him up. World renowned in the free ski, category for sure. And so it is his expertise that's driving a lot of this. And how it works is if you had never taught anything, the entryway into the system is still the level one, as it is today. And then from there, we have the instructing pathway and then the Big Mountain kind of coach pathway. You can do both. You can do one. I'm actually personally myself looking forward to getting out to Whistler. I don't know if I'll do it this season, but at the early next season, I actually want to get involved in that Big Mountain pathway too, because it's just not something that has been available, and it hasn't been a place where I'm typically always coaching. So maybe you and I and others need to get together and do that. But the pathway itself, it's basically meant to get into recognition, I guess, people who are out there teaching and coaching in that environment all the time. And there is a lot of that going on in the areas that have that type of terrain. So our plan is that level 2 would be able to be offered at not every, but a lot of ski areas in Canada to begin with, to get people kind of acquainted with that aspect. And then as we go into level 3 and level 4, it does become more geographically, specific or tuned, I guess, where we will get into steeps and entrances and cornices and that kind of terrain, which obviously not every ski area advertises. But I'll say one more thing. We've had a really exciting amount of interest from all over Canada. Like Perry mentioned this earlier, like even the small ski area in the middle of Saskatchewan, there's a ski instructor there that is interested in being out in that environment. And now we kind of feel like we've got an opportunity for them to really exercise that interest and get involved and hopefully stay.
Yeah.
Maybe if I can just add, David, excuse me, because you did ask me a question earlier, industry innovation, this, a lot of areas in Canada, this is a thing, right? Like people are aspiring to this kind of terrain more and more. And I'll quote, and I don't want to get it wrong, but I'll quote Derek Foos. Like he literally, because, again, as Jeff said, if you don't know who he is, Google him, YouTube him. He's literally the voice of the World Freeride Tour. He said, and that this would have been a great thing had it existed when he first came to Whistler and first started coaching, his kids, his clients, his club members in this environment. And there's a lot of areas, and again, we can speak to Canada, where it's inbounds, but it's terrain with consequences. and you need the skills. You need the skills to be able to deal with it. And yeah, we're pretty excited about that. And maybe I'll finish with, again, not to lead you on, but maybe sometime as a podcast guest, you'd want Mark Sedgwick, our president, who worked very closely with Derek Foos, and get Mark and Derek on.
Oh, that'd be great
to chat about this in detail. They're both incredibly well spoken, and this is definitely close to their heart.
Cool. That'd be sweet. I know Angela would love to hear about that. He wants to go off some cornices.
Yeah.
You have a lot of those down there in PA, right? Southwestern PA?
Tons.
Tons. Oh, God. So we're like 4 years away. What will be, I know you two guys, I guarantee, I can't believe you won't be at Interner Ski. I know you'll be there. Will PSIC be there with a team? Will you be there with the leadership team? Have you even thought about that far out?
Well, I mean, maybe, because one of the earlier questions, and if I can take the lead on this one, Jeff. So, I mean, you heard our comments, both Jeff and I's personal experiences at Interner Ski, an incredible event, incredibly valuable to I think, our profession. The Interner Ski represents like a ton of opportunity of where it can go, how it can lead the industry, and so on. So maybe the quick answer is we sure aspire to want to be there, because one, we believe in it. Like we believe in being part of the international community, I should say, both in contributing to it and benefiting from it. So we for sure aspire to it. One thing that some of your listeners may not know, like one, in Canada, we don't have an organization that is all encompassing, like the PSIA, AASI, that has all the disciplines, from Nordic, adaptive, telemark, snowboards, and alpine, right? Like that doesn't exist. And there is no governing body, like in the sense that in Canada, if you're like in a competitive sport, as an example, and I can give this structure for anything, whether it's badminton or alpine skiing or hockey. If you're in a competitive stream, there's a club level, there's a provincial level, which all becomes rolled up and governed by Sport Canada. In the professional instruction world, where we work with clients, there isn't such a thing. So where I'm going with this, I sure hope that that we could work with the Interner Ski, the Presidium, the other international bodies, to get to work with them to get their help, because we would love to be involved in that event come 2027. I think it's going to be one not to be missed, and I would love to for us as an organization to be there to take part in it and contribute. Maybe Jeff.
Well, I will say, based on 2023, if you guys aren't there, it would be a loss for everybody else.
Well, that's very kind of you to say, Angela. I mean, it was such a great event. Like, it was such a great event. Like and it's funny, Jeff and I did talk about this. If I was to sum up, the Levy Interner Ski event was just the energy. Man, it was so collaborative, so great. The sharing. I think everybody's game, like everybody that went there, and then the energy that then came to the energy that every participant then took home was palatable. Like, it was super cool. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if I have much to add to Perry's comments about 2027, but I mean, I guess one thing would be, absolutely. Like, I mean, the collaboration that we, we loved to be part of. Certainly that's something we want to be a part of again. We fully understand that there are, steps that we need to go through and processes that we need to respect. And so we've started to put some of those things in motion and doing some research and so on. So yeah, we'll keep following that as it goes and do the homework we need to do. But, yeah. And, similar to Perry, thanks for your comments on, on our participation. Like it's one of those places where, I think that the inspiration that is available there, when you get, involved and when new ideas can come to the table and some really good, honest, open discussion can happen. I just think that's so invaluable. I mean, one of the if I may, like one of the things that I do remember as well is sort of and I can't actually remember what the meetings were called, but 3 times through, the fairly short, busy week, we had an opportunity to be in the room with, with organization leaders, and really talk openly. And as we spoke, through 3 separate meetings, the discussions became more open and honest, and really, in the sense of what are the struggles that we're looking at. And we recognize that not all of our challenges from organization to organization are the same, but in many ways they there are a lot of similarities. And the essence that I got there was that people do want to be open. They do want to look for ways to collaborate. And as we've evolved as a brand new organization, we've been reaching out and speaking to a lot of different organizations, and the excitement about just the concept of collaboration. It's not even around something specific, like we're going to do this on this date kind of thing. We have all kinds of meetings planned with different organizations, because they're just excited. And I think everybody's in a place where they're like, yeah, I don't know what we're talking about yet, but we're going to talk about something, and that's going to be fun. And so if we can take that and everything that we learn through that process in the next 2 to 3 years, if I think we can bring something just really cool to Interski as an event, and just keep evolving this thing, because we all benefit from it. Everybody.
Yeah, Perry, I think Jeff's continuing the collaboration, and I know that all of you have been collaborating. Like there was, I heard some stuff that you were talking about that you brought in some sports psychologists or some different specialists when you're developing this whole thing in the last 7 months to really, and then the industry steering committee. So you're definitely using a lot of resources out there to steer this. And how are you using the steering committee?
Oh, that's a good question. So one, I could go through all the names, but maybe I'll just, I'll focus a little bit on one. Wendy Reed, who is our industry steering committee chair, one of the earlier adopters. I mean, her resume is as long as they get, I think, in this industry, and she just, and like us, she shares this passion of what things can be. So, the industry steering committee, like it is our main, I'm not to say that the others aren't, but it's our main feedback loop. And that group, as it grows, it's an unbelievable fuel for us as an organization to come up with products, to move things forward. We talked about the introduction to ski instruction thing. That is a direct response of some things that happened with that group. We did a test study at one resort, and then it caught fire. It took, and I'm not saying this, it took nothing to get 14 resorts on board. And we're actually limited by capacity right now. So, how quickly we can expand this concept, we've got to grow kind of, one step at a time. We're growing our trainer capacity at the same time. So it's just really exciting. And what's also cool is it's the diversity of that group and what they represent. Because I'll say it, on one end of the scale is Russ Wood, from Whistler Blackcomb, which if not the biggest, one of the biggest snow schools on the planet. So which is an unbelievably sophisticated machine, big training department and so on. Like that's one of the scale. But then, we've got some, and I mean this with the greatest respect, because it's kind of cool. Like I love the grassroots experience as well. Literally on Thursday, I'm off to on a plane. I'm going to be helping out Mission Ridge, Saskatchewan, which a shout out to Mission Ridge. If you ever get a chance to go to their day lodge, there's more hardware in that day lodge in Saskatchewan than I've seen anywhere, because it happens to be the home of Mark McMorris, the snowboarder, X Games, Olympic gold, all that. So anyway, but my point is that, every end of the experience is kind of cool from coast to coast, from Darren McDonald's in Nova Scotia to Jen Crabtree on Mount Washington, on Vancouver Island. It's just that diversity and how they can learn from each other. We're just really excited about that group. And, and Jeff mentioned this too. I don't want to make it clear. There's people in there that are literally owners. There's people in it that are general managers. There's people in it that are snow school directors. There are people that are trainers. Like it's a good cross section this way. and we've learned a lot from it. And what's also going to be excited, we are only 7 months in. When we really get up on plane with working with that group as it expands, is going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty great relationship to have all of them in with what you're trying to do and work together, that collaborative piece again.
Yeah, and I'll say it cool. I mean, I don't know if this is a bit of trivia. Technically by our committee, structure, if you will, it's the ski resort that has the seat, and they pick the person that they want, which is, again, helps guide us as well. So it's kind of cool because we are getting, and I'm making up a bit of an example, but let's say, the area, like a resort director might have more of a risk management, perspective than a trainer, or, that might have a bit more of the adventure perspective and so on. So we've got many different looks, if you will, perspectives, skill sets, which, definitely helps us craft our vision going forward.
Yeah. And it's very early. And like I've got it right over here, and I'm looking through the bios and have looked through the bios of like the licensed professional trainers you have and the team together. I mean, the bios of everybody are huge, impressive, absolutely. Do you feel in the future there's going to be some of the people coming up through your system that will move into that area?
Go ahead, Jeff.
So, well, I mean, my honest answer is that, like, I hope so, right? Like, yeah. I would like to see. I guess it's kind of right back to where we started with what do we mean by empowerment and development? I mean, that is one of those things. I mean, I'm not an old man yet, but I'm certainly not going to be around forever. And if we don't start looking for that succession now, I'm not sure about this, but I think if you're in a place where you can empower people, but you wait too long, the tendency to do it, I think, decreases. Right? Like when you get into that mindset that you've got to keep doing this, for longer and longer and longer. I actually love the idea of literally, like, I'm on snow with a level 2 trainee, and believing that this person could be the next, CEO of a ski area, or general manager, or leader of the PSIC, or any other organization. Like that actually, honestly, I find that really exciting. And it's even more exciting to think about the ways that we can be creative to make sure that we're part of that. Right. And go. So you're right. Like the resume of the people that are involved, like they've chosen to come with us, which we love and we totally appreciate. And I think, we've talked about it a few times in different aspects as the night's gone on here, but they're learning things as well. And I think every time they do that, they find another aspect of what this all means to them. And I think that's just what grows the whole thing. And I think there's so much potential in that pipeline, and the pipeline we don't even have yet. It's super exciting. And we have a lot of people that have a lot of experience all over the place. They're working full-time at snow schools. They're trainers. Tracy Fraser from Whistler, like she runs, runs their training programs at Whistler. Yeah. Like that is a boatload of experience there. And her guidance is part of what we're doing as well. It's really exciting. I think there's endless potential in there.
If I can just add, David and Angelo, to what Jeff said. So one, super proud of that team that you see, like, their bios on the website and so on. It's an incredible group of individuals and the skills and perspectives they bring. And, if I can just expand a little bit on what Jeff also touched on, is I'm super excited about what the future holds, like the next generation, both from a couple of things. One, I've got kids, and I often view things through the eyes of my experience with my kids. And I think, I've had the opportunity to teach a couple of our level 1s programs, and I'm so excited about what the next generation brings to the table, because these people are smart. Like just the access to technology, and through the school system and so on, they know the things that matter. They know about inclusion. They know, whatever the issue is we might think, and I even hate the label to say that it's current or it's relevant. They know it, they live it, it's inherent in them. And and I'll say it, what's in our very collaborative approach, which is super cool, is that energy is working. It's working with the next generation. It's inspiring the next generation. And I'm super excited of where the next generation will take this. Like it's, we're going to have people through some of our top certifications that are going to be very young, like, 17 years old. And it is not a gimme. It's because they've figured it out. I mean, I won't name names, but we have people that they worked so far ahead in their school year so that they have gotten permission from their teachers to take the training, to get through the training. Like they're, and these are people with capacity. And this is a kid. When I say a kid, I am showing my age, but this is a young person that's got all kinds of capacity. And I think that's where I'm really excited about the future, because to think some of the up and coming generations lack capacity, I think is just wrong. I think they've got, the future is in really, really good hands. And if we can support that, that is like the coolest thing.
Yeah. And the energy is amazing. I mean, I know Guy was pumped up when you guys were talking to Tom Jelly. I mean, he was just super excited. And I have to say, is he really like 6'6", man? He said he was sitting there. I would not see that. And he's talking about, I'm a tall guy, 6'6". And I'm like looking, going, I got to have him stand up. It's like, oh my God. It's like 6'6" on a pair of skis. That's a big dude. It's bigger than Angelo.
That's much bigger than Angela.
Oh man, but no, Angela, this has got to excite you, man. I know we both love education, but man, you've been in it, in the real world, in the ski world, which I consider real world, and everybody says not, but that's where my education is. And it's really neat to hear Jeff, and when Guy was talking about it with Tom Jelly, it's the organic part. He was super excited to it's always in the learning mode. He didn't feel like he was testing people. He was out there working with them. They were working through it, learning and figuring out how to make it happen.
On that note, David, and again, Jeff and I have had numerous conversations, like some of the stuff that we've learned, from being, in when I say in the room, but literally on the hill, with our fellow trainers, our colleagues and so on, is so, in this environment, is so cool. And, one thing that, maybe I'll just expand really briefly on one of the other things that Jeff said, which is this, so in the role, if I'm out on the hill as an LPT working with people, your sleeves are always rolled up, which is kind of cool. You never step back into, I'm going to make a very traditional thing, into a clipboard role where, you're always engaged and you're always helping and you're always moving the ball down the field, always. And that's super cool.
Yeah. Angelo.
I think you guys are doing it so well. It's really impressive, and you sound, when you talk about it, you sound like unbound by things. You're free to do what you want. It's really exciting. And that's not to knock any other associations around the world, but you have the opportunity, just to design it the way you want to do it. It's really impressive. And I'm excited for what you have going on. I'm excited for what we're all going to be able to take away from it, because the collaboration is real. We do learn from each other. So it's cool to watch it unfold, so congratulations to you guys. I think it's what you're doing is terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. It's it's a work in progress, and it is a blast, right? It's just a super creative space right now, where you're right. Like I think actually forcing ourselves to not put things in print, if I can put it that way, at the moment is I think one of the smartest things we've done, if I can put it that way, just to let ourselves actually be part of the learning process that we want to create for others.
Yeah.
At least for me, it's really kind of a gratifying experience. And it does, even from the word go with our LPT training, we were quite upfront about that with everyone, is that there's a lot that's in progress, and we're going to be looking for input. We're going to be looking for feedback. And I think people want to be involved in something like that too, right? Where it's not all, cut and dried and presented. It's it's a growth process. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And this has been great too. Even these conversations, you know, and you're right. We've had conversations with Tom and a few others along the way. And we learn something as we hear ourselves talk through what we're doing. Right. Yeah. We find new connections. I mean, the pie thing, man, we're taking that home for sure.
Oh, that's yours. That's your gift for coming on the show. But I love what you said, Jeff, about not writing it down. The temptation is there to write it down. But I've said on this podcast before, once it's codified, it's codified, and then it becomes dogma for a lot of people. And once it's out there, it's so slow to change it. You know. So kudos.
Go ahead, because you're probably going the same place I'm going, Perry.
Well, Angelo, you're so right, because it's not just us. It's not just instruction. That's life, right? Like, it's so easy that, okay, this is what you do, but then if you follow dogma, it's so easy to get the context wrong. Whereas opposed to stay focused on, you know, what's the purpose, what's the mission, you know, and when I say the mission, like, you know, and Jeff's heard me talk about some of the stories is like, because I still teach, you know, some general public, if you will, like, you know, regular clients that I have and so on. And I say this with kind of amazement that because again, I think I'm pretty good at this. I've done it for a long time, but my game has moved exponentially better because I'm just more conscious of some of the stuff that we're talking about. And then if I can just maybe close that thought, is we alone are not the catalyst of energy. You know, we feed what's super cool today, whether you talk about the Interner Ski event, you talk about this conversation today. I think, Angelo, of riding a chairlift with you on Big Sky, positive energy feeds itself, right? And it does this. It's so cool. And that's what, you know, really excites me about the future is just, you know, talking, building, and kind of at every opportunity goes, well, what is possible? As opposed to, no, you can't do that. And that excites me. And with that kind of viewpoint, the future is unbelievable.
Yeah. And if our listeners, hopefully they'll jump on the PSIC.pro and their website and check out stuff there. You're also on Facebook. They can jump on that to follow that. Do you want to give? I want to give you a chance to give one more of the possible new instructor program that's going out there.
So literally starting in Mission Ridge, Saskatchewan is our first one, starting on February 22nd all the way through April 7th, 14 resorts across Canada. You know, our landing page will be up on psic.pro, so people across, you know, Canada can look at that and get a taste what it's like to be an instructor, what it might mean, you know, actually doing this job. I say this, and I know, you know, at times in my life I've done other things other than ski instruction, but I'll tell you, man, you know, my foundation of an instructor has served me well, regardless of what, you know, walk of life that I've taken those skill sets to. So we're real excited about that, and, you know, excited about exposing this profession to the next generation and to people that maybe just haven't seen it or didn't realize that it was possible. Yeah. So thanks, David. I really appreciate that.
Oh, I'm glad to get the info out there. It's a pretty exciting program when I saw it on Facebook, and I want to definitely talk about that. So it's good. And Jeff, any parting comments?
Well, I'll leave you with a quote.
There we go.
Well, you know, and Perry's you know, final comment there kind of makes me think of it. And I wish I could remember who said it, but it's from one of the many audiobooks that I've listened to in the last few years. But you know, it's around expertise, right? And to become an expert, all it takes, the very first step is to become interested. And I think that's where it all starts. And so, you know, I think that ties into, you know, hopefully the intro to instruction idea, you know, and thanks to you guys for allowing us to be here to talk to you and kind of expose some of our ideas, because I think, you know, the listeners out there too, I think they are interested, and we've had a lot of good feedback about just the conversations we're having. And we really just want to encourage people to reach out if they're interested in, and it doesn't even mean becoming a member or anything like that. It's just, you know, we love the engagement, and it gives us you know, ideas and thoughts moving forward every single time. So we're happy to be here, and thanks for the conversation. And yeah, I'm sure it won't be the last.
I hope not. Angelo, anything parting?
Keep going.
Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. It's definitely interest to me. And, tell Angela, we got to maybe do a podcast from Canada. We'll do one of them live ones up there.
There you go. I've got the blizzards already.
Yeah, we got to work on Perry though. I mean, there's no Blizzard, there's no Technica. I don't know. He's probably got Head or Dynastar or Rossi.
Yeah, I'm one of those Rossi guys.
Well, there you go. I know Eric Barnes will love that. He loves his Rossi too. So we got to have choices. Definitely have to have choices. Right. But all right. Well, hey, thanks a bunch. This was great to chat again with the both of you, and absolutely keep going. We're very interested. It's really exciting to read about it, talk with you guys about it, and hopefully we'll talk some more and maybe get on snow at some point. But thanks to everybody out there, and thanks to Jeff Marks and Perry Schmunk for coming on here and chatting about the Professional Ski Instructors of Canada. And jump on their website. Once again, it's psic.pro, and it's some pretty cool information. And thanks everybody out there for listening to The Fall Line with Chaos and Company.